We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We're back in the SMI studio. I'm Gabe Johansson with Trevor and Dane, and we have a very special couple of guests that are going to be on the show today. I'm going to let Dane introduce you guys. You guys are the WealthJuice Podcast, correct?
That's right.
And you're also doing a bunch of real estate stuff. So I'm going to let Dane talk about it for a minute.
Well, the reason that I get to talk about it is because we met our East Coast brothers this morning. We just got off a podcast, their podcast, where they hosted Trevor and I. Gabe was not here yet. He had another meeting. And so Trevor and I got to get introduced to two guys that are doing literally exactly what we're doing. It was so fun to talk to them because it was a mirror of and everything they were saying. And then there was some stuff where it was like, oh, we should probably be doing that better. But I'm excited to dive into even more of what you guys have done. Because you kind of just listen to us yap about.
So introduce them to us, tell them who they are, what they do.
Oh, yeah. Well, so everybody who's listening to our podcast knows, but I'll explain. That's a good point. Trevor and I used to do Vesta Solutions. This is WealthJuice, the East Coast version, where they help people buy their first or next real estate deal. And so they do coaching on that front. They have the whole team to help people do that. They also host a podcast called WealthJuice, right? So is the brokerage the same as the podcast, or the coaching name the same as the podcast?
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of background. And by the way, thanks for having us on. So the hardest thing that I find on podcasts is not to get shiny object syndrome and do the things that I'm hearing about on all these podcasts. But you guys are doing stuff that's so similar. It's like we should actually talk a lot more often. But to answer your question, WealthJuice is our brand Instagram podcast and our inner circle, we call it, where we teach people how to buy their first or next rental property. I'm an agent, real estate agent in the Philadelphia area, so I can help people on that front there with investment properties and like buying your dream home. But then we actually buy in Vermont and New Hampshire it's not a separate business, it's separate LLC, but people come into our community, they can either partner with us on deals, and we syndicate that way, buy 5 to 30 unit multifamily. So I would say it's all in the same ecosystem, all the same sphere. So hopefully that answered your question there. But yeah, that's
Tell us their names, Dane. Introduce our guests. Welcome to the show.
Corey and Ryan. I forgot you didn't do that. You said a couple of guys from WealthJuice. This is Corey and Ryan. Sorry, Gabe's so much better at this, but this is fun for me. So let's do our Gabe and I's favorite question first, and then we'll talk about Trevor's favorite thing. So for the record as well, these guys own 95 units together, correct? Anything outside of that depiction that you gave us earlier? Or is that's where you're at right now?
I mean, we have
95 units.
95 units together. Yeah. I mean, I have a short-term rental that I own, just me, but Ryan and I have built our portfolio, started out 50-50, just the two of us. And now we're general partners in those 95 units. Yeah.
Where are you at?
We're in Philadelphia. This is where we live, but we buy in New Hampshire and Vermont. That's where our partner is, who we syndicate these deals with. We bought 50 units in the past couple years with him.
Okay.
Sweet. So let's go one by one. Corey, how did you get started? What got you into real estate? Were you always a real estate investor? Did your dad build houses and that's what got you into it? Or was it a whole different path?
It's a great question, and it leads into the combination of Ryan and I. So I'm glad you asked me. So no, my dad was not a real estate investor. My dad was an entrepreneur, and he put a bunch of money into real estate in 2007. So I'm not going to rewrite the rest of that story for you, but it didn't work out too well for him in the real estate game. Now he owns a couple properties now, but he had a lot more at one point. So the real estate in my family was like, he never said you shouldn't do it. He just said I didn't do it the right way. So in 2018, I bought my first property. It was just similar to Trevor's story, I think, where I bought a house hack, but I bought a 3-bed, 2-bath, lived in 1 bedroom, rented out the other 2 bedrooms. I was making like $35,000 a year. So I had just enough to qualify for this property, but then I was able to knock out my mortgage payment / rent payment completely. I went from paying $1,000 a month in rent to living for free. And I was like, man, this is it. Like I'm in, like, let's do it. Allowed me to save up over 18-month time frame to buy a duplex, $125,000 duplex. That I did everything wrong with, but I sold it 3 years later for $100K profit in my pocket. And I was like, then my head really exploded because I was like, I can't save up $35,000 a year for 3 years. No way. Not with the job I was working. Left that job, went to sales, Ryan saw what I was doing and he's like, dude, we got to do this together. We had lived together. We worked for the same company at the same point. We went to college together. We were really, really good friends. So we started our podcast, our social media platform. We started buying real estate together, just small duplexes, triplexes, single family in New Jersey. And we just said, we're going to build in public. We're just going to document our journey. I know there's people that would want to know that you shouldn't have done that and you should have done this. And, you know, it was raining inside my house day one on some of these properties. And I was like, if we just share this, if we just open this up to like letting people inside to know what we're doing, I think over a long enough time horizon, it will build a know, like, and trust situation where maybe our portfolio grows and people want to learn what we're doing. And that's kind of what happened. It wasn't the intention how we set out, but the podcast was to organically network with people like yourself to learn more about who was doing it better. And I just gave the whole story there, but that's how I started. That's how we teamed up. And that's 6
Well, where did Ryan come into the picture there? Where you were house hacking and then Ryan saw you doing this and then joined you there?
Yeah, I can tell this part.
Ryan, you tell.
Yeah. So, Corey and I lived together. When he started house hacking, I actually got roped into buying a primary residence with my now wife. And so she kind of got me into the game first. I was like, we should just continue to rent again. She's like, no, I really want to buy a place before we get married. So we ended up buying a place, recently converted that into a rental. So it ended up working out for me. But I will say, I saw Corey, we had moved, this is probably like a year after we moved out from each other. I moved in with my wife. He moved in, had some of the guys move in with him and start, renting from him. And I saw on Instagram, he posted, I think it was like the peace sign to show that like it was his second property that he's, he bought as an investment property. I'm like, damn, he's really doing it. When we lived together, Trevor, you mentioned this earlier, we came across the FIRE movement. We started talking about like, are we going to be doing these jobs till we're 67? We paid rent to, I remember vividly, our landlord came in. It was this like out of shape, mid 30s or early 40s guy. We're handing him a check. I'm like, this guy owns our property. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this guy, I just couldn't do it. I was like, that motivated me to say, hey, dude, we can do this
guy.
Hey, you're in, boys.
A guy like this.
Yeah, a little less of what you are, man. So but long story short, goofball. And I was like, Jesus, man, I can't believe we're paying this guy rent. So if he can figure it out, we can figure it out. So we started studying real estate. Then Corey actually did it, right? Like I bought the primary. I was still working the W-2. He bought one. And I just hit him up on the side. I was like, purely like, dude, impressed with what you've done. You've already gotten 2. I have 1. It's not a rental. It's not bringing me any income. How did you do it? And like, if you're open to it, I want to learn more and I want to do it together. Like, it's just going to force me to hold myself accountable and do it. Ended up partnering on a couple of deals together. The world shut down during COVID. He kind of mentioned too. And then he came to me and was like, Rye, I think we should build in public. And I'm like, what do you mean build in public? Like, he's like, I want to start a podcast and start talking about real estate. I'm like, dude, we have 2 units and they're yours. Like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. And I just said, at the end of the day, if we're going to put our name on something, we're going to do it. Let's really do it. And the only thing we saw in Shining Lights at this time was Bigger Pockets. So we had them to learn from, learned a little bit about their structure. And he's like, listen, let's do this more on the smaller scale to show people how to really learn through the trials and tribulations of average Joes that are working jobs that are just going to stack a portfolio. A passion project turned into a business, right? We started, like, our podcast turned into a media company. We started getting some sponsorships. We started having people that we were reading books about, or the ones that were teaching us the game, on our podcast. And like the dominoes would fall as one big guest would come on the show. They'd tell their friends, had a good interview. These guys are pretty cool. And then we started having offline conversations with the gentleman that we were having on the podcast. Started a couple different businesses. We talked about with you guys. At one point, we had a short-term rental and hospitality company up in the Pocono Mountains. We got out of that business, and now we're full-time, syndicating, taking down deals ourselves. We have the podcast, the media business, and can kind of get into all of it. But, you asked Corey a little bit about his upbringing. I'll just say I'm a family of entrepreneurs. My dad owns a construction company. His brother owns a paving company. His other brother owns a craning company, and they all owned real estate. So I always knew at some point I would do something for myself and not be in the game of having to punch a clock every day, and just kind of wanted to carve out my own little name niche in the world. I never knew what it would be. And it's kind of just felt like it was kind of in my blood. And this was the perfect lane for us. And, we learned that 90% of millionaires make their wealth up through real estate, right? And so let's not rebuild the wheel. Let's just jump in the game and kind of find our lane. And that's what's led us to today.
Yeah. So Ryan, when you were living with Corey, were you just a random person you found online as a tenant, or were you guys friends already?
No, we were friends. So we met in college. So we went to Temple University in Philly. We ended up being in the same fraternity. And then after school, we ended up working the same W-2 job on accident. We just kind of fell into it. And then so by
What was
osmosis.
that job you guys were doing?
We worked in sales for the 76ers. So, I worked in sales. He was running the camps. So, we were learning basically like sales, marketing, all the above. Right. And then, through that's like long hours and things like that. And so when we get home, we're like, it's just a job in general. We're like, hey, are we going to be doing this 9-to-5 life forever? And to hedge against that, that's kind of where real estate came in. We started talking about the FIRE movement, reading these books. And so long story short, we had a lot of trust built up in our relationship. And that's why we partnered together. I think it's hard for people to find someone that they can split risk with, where like Corey and I already been through the ringer with like, personal lives and like just different experiences together, traveling and friends. And so there was never really a lack of trust. And like when it came to money, it was just like, I know that I don't want to let him down. He doesn't want to let me down. And our families know each other. And like, I know his brother, his fiance, and as my wife, like we all kind of grew up together in a way. So it was more like family being able to go into this thing and not letting your brother down. So really cool stuff. And that was the foundation, what led to us kind of just hit the ground running.
So what did your guys' first deals look like together then? And then what were you talking about on the podcast? Were you talking about like your strategy, like how you're finding? Because that'd be kind of cool for a lot of people to go back and listen to.
I can tell you, don't go back and listen to the first couple of podcasts because they were literally terrible. But I actually just recently listened to them today, and I'm like, wow, I actually became a better quality professional speaker. I'm a little bit better. I'm a little bit more polished. Like it was literally us on Zoom just recording. But I can tell you about the beginning stages of our portfolio and what we did. It was really talking about the FIRE movement and the mindset shift that we had to be like, okay, I don't think this 9-to-5 job is for us forever. I was sharing the story of like paying $1,000 a month in rent. And now I'm living for free. This is pretty cool. Like and I was doing house hacking where I was sharing living space with people, right? And you can do it where you don't even have to do that. You can buy a duplex or a triplex or a quad. And we teach people how to do this because it really did change our lives. It was kind of like the rich dad, poor dad moment. But the deals that we started buying together were very simple. I mean, we were buying in 2020 and 2021, so interest rates were low. We had that benefit. But example, we bought in a C+ class neighborhood, a duplex, side-by-side duplex. Up-down duplex for $175,000. One of the tenants was Section 8. The other tenant wasn't. And we were able to rent that place for like $2,700 or $2,800 a month. And, we self-managed for a little bit. That was traditional financing. We would save up our own money, deploy it, save up our own money, deploy it. One of the properties we just sold was one of our first ones. We bought it in 2021 as an estate sale. Ryan, through his W-2 job, met somebody who owned a title company. That title company introduced us to a lawyer. The lawyer said, hey, I have this property, $135,000. The guy wants nothing to do with it. Do you guys want to buy it? We didn't even realize at the time it was worth $225,000. Sick. We bought this property under value. We were doing, taking stuff out of the property, calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK, just like had no clue what we were doing. But we put $60,000 of renovations into the project, cash flowed $600 or $700 a month, and we just sold it for $350 in the end of 2025. Yeah. So we learned by just like going and doing it and not being afraid to like sign both of our names on the debt. We did a home style loan, we did conventional financing, but it was literally no strategy outside of like, let's just try to find good deals, save up our own money and deploy it for the first 6 to 8 units, maybe 10. And then we hired a property manager and realized, if I'm not going to these properties every day anymore, or every week or whatever, that are 20, 30, 40 minutes away, could we buy properties that are in other states? Could we buy them in other areas where we could find partnerships that worked out better for us? And that's when we started to pivot to new markets. One, because of tenant landlord laws in New Jersey. That was part of it. But two, our cash went further in other markets. And then our brand started to grow. So people knew us as like the guys who started this real estate portfolio, and we had access to capital. So I just took you through a little bit of a timeline, but that was the first couple deals we bought to like 7 to 10 units.
Could you speak on like how you actually like saved up for those? Because you mentioned you guys were making like 35 grand and your stuff is like half price of what it is on the West Coast market. Like, how did you actually save up on a $35,000 salary? Because you're putting 20% down on a $175,000 property. So the
$35,000 salary didn't last long. I left that job to go into sales. Like I knew that wasn't going to, and Rye started to grow in his company through sales. So I left and I started to work I mentioned my dad was an entrepreneur. I worked for a family business. I sold signage, which wasn't the most glamorous job, but I really enjoyed working with my family. It was a whole new experience. I got to like manage my father and my uncle. It was insane. Family business is nuts, but I started to make more money that way. So, I got up my salary into the 6-figure mark. But the key thing is, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, I just kept my expenses the same. I bought a Mercedes when I was 23 because I thought I was cool, and I wasn't cool. Period. I wasn't cool. And I sold that Mercedes, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a 6-year-old Lexus that I then paid off. And by the way, I still drive that today. It's just ingrained in me to have a paid off car. I'm 34, right? So I'm like, I kept my expenses the same. I was continuing the house hack, and then that $100,000, $120,000, $130,000, $150,000 salary that started to grow, my expenses were $50,000, $60,000. So that was the key. And now at this point, at this stage, I'm fine. I'm finally like, all right, let's increase this a little bit, right? But I've just delayed gratification for a long period of time. I think Ryan did the same thing.
Yeah, I did. Like, as we spoke, I did the same thing. And once you cut that rent payment, you could save a down payment every year pretty easy. So I drove a 2010 Prius for 10 years or so. But I gotta say, Gabe just had to get an EV Hummer.
Oh, I had him get it.
Cool.
He sold me an EV. He sold me on an EV Hummer. This thing is so sick.
Is it paid off yet?
No.
Oh, dude, how'd you fit in the Prius? I feel like you're like 6'5". You look long, dude.
He did fit in the Prius.
The seat's all the way back.
As far back as it goes.
Are you tall? How tall are you?
6'2".
Knew it. Oh, I almost
went-
yeah, dude.
He went from 100 horsepower to 1,000 horsepower in one trade.
That's awesome,
He
dude.
went from a lawnmower to a supercar.
Dude,
Yeah,
we're big car guys. Trust me, it's coming. Don't worry. That's a nice move. Now you're cozy.
Lexus is cooler than a Prius.
Are you guys? So you guys are still delaying your gratification? Do you ever feel like at some point you're not going to want to do that?
Yeah.
34 years old. I mean, how many times do you go like, oh, there's a toy out there. I got to reward myself at some point.
I'll say mine's I have a bigger one. I wouldn't call it a dream home, but I'd call it like our, hey, raise our kids in this. So I have a 2.5-year-old and eventually want another one. So I went through the process of like, we've been delaying. And my wife wanted to get closer to her family. Hey, like free babysitting and free childcare, right? Right up the road. But we were delaying. We lived in a townhouse for close to 10 years and it was small. It was like, I don't know, like 1,700 square feet. And it was fine, right? It got me to and from work, but we got to this point where we're in our lives and I'm keep delaying. I'm like getting into I'm 35 and we have the ability to buy this house and like get into the bigger, like 3,000 square foot house with a big backyard and the basement and like 4 bedrooms. And I just kept to this point. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I want to be able to live my life now. Now, some people, rush into this just with their W-2 and they don't have extra income and they dump all their money they ever had into this, and which I don't recommend. But we have the ability through different levers in real estate and the team and all of this, where I could just move some of my portfolio and reposition to be able to live in the now. And so that's what I did. End of last year, it was a doozy. We were taking down some multifamily deals at the same time. And my wife's like pressing me for our next house. And like, we want to grow the family. And I'm like, okay, let me just figure this out, see what we can do. We ended up finding a place and it was in my mind, like a stretch. I'm like, this is a lot to handle right now. And ended up just doing it, pulling the trigger and figuring it out and moving things around. And that was hard for me because I'm like such a vice grip down on delayed gratification, but to be able to wake up and know that they're taken care of and now I can just go work and get back to it. It almost adds like a forced level up, if you will. Like I can handle it, but now it's making me to be able to sustain this at a very easy pace. Now I just have to keep grinding and like push myself to the next level. So we can get into that further, but that was my big, okay, like we're really jumping into the big leagues at this point. Like there's no turning back. Take some of the pie that you've stacked up for the last 10 years and live, because I think there's so many people that don't do that sometimes. And then you just feel this like tense pressure to make this massive net worth. And then you can't even live and enjoy the things that you are working for. And I just don't want to croak tomorrow when we could have been actually living and sharing experiences with, Nona and Pops literally a mile up the road and like my kid be able to have like the best upbringing ever. So that was.
But the difference for you guys is you spent a period of time with the delayed gratification to set yourselves up for a future. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make is most people don't do that. They go out and buy all the toys first and then they're buried in debt. They're struggling and now they just got to like keep the job forever and ever and ever because they got to pay all these bills. You guys took the step to go out and start to build an asset column, do all the things they talk about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Bigger Pockets, and actually start to build a base so that you can go out. I think the one thing that is sad, and I have one of my mentors, when I met him, he was about 60 years old and he already owned probably close to 2,000 units, let's say. He was driving like a 20-year-old pickup truck and living in one of his fourplexes. And he got married. He was single for like 20 years as he did all this. And he got married, and his wife looked at him and she goes, "What are you doing? You're rich. You're supposed to act like you're rich." And then, of course, he's taken it now and gone all the way to the other end of the spectrum. But, I think that there is something in there. Obviously, everybody wants something different out of life, but you can, I believe, delay it too long.
Yeah.
And his point to me was when he started getting some of those things, his net worth went up 10x because he started, when he wakes up in his mansion, he's like, "Look at what I did." It's a reminder every day that he accomplished this, and it just adds to his strength and his confidence, and just puts his head in that right space to know, like, I'm the man. I can go out and do this. So I like that you guys are saying that you're starting to enjoy life now. And sometimes it's not cars or houses or whatever. Maybe it's trips or whatever it is you're looking in life. I mean, the point is you build a real estate portfolio, and if you spend a few years and you have that, most people don't like to talk about sacrifice. What are the things we did? My wife and I we shared a Prius. We actually drove a Prius for 4 years. And we only had one car between the two of us. Nobody ever really likes to hone in on that part of the story. They love to talk about all the fun things that we're doing today in our lives. So that's a really important part of the story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I want to double down on what he said of the 10xing your net worth after you do the fun stuff. I think that people who have the tendency to delay gratification don't ever think about when they're going to stop delaying. And so you get in this pattern, this cycle of just permanently delaying it. And it's like, no, it's delayed gratification. It's not infinitely delayed gratification. I'm delaying it for a reason. Like, the reason that I was delaying it was so that I could do this thing the right way. Not do it the wrong way, but still do it at some point. And so it's knowing when the time to pull the trigger is.
When I qualified for $1 million house, I bought a $250,000 house. When I qualified for a $3 million house, I bought my $1 million house. I still was working my way up the ladder, but I just waited longer than most people would. Most people would go, "Oh, I qualify for the bigger house. I'm going to go get it right now." It's not really a delay forever. It's just to delay it for a few years, 3 to 5 years, and build something, and then get to that point to where now buying it is not such a stressful thing anymore.
I also think one of the things that you guys mentioned here is like what's important to the specific individual and knowing yourself and really not caring what other people think about that. And that's to me what I've kind of honed in on. I really truly enjoy experiences, and I enjoy spending my money going to Tampa, Florida later this month, going to Miami in May, getting married in the Dominican Republic. I enjoy that aspect of my life. And the fact that my property, my home is 1,500 square foot right now, it doesn't bother me. It's not something that I'm like, I have to go have this 4,000 square foot home. Do I want that eventually? Sure. But it's just I've narrowed down my priorities of what I want, and time freedom has become so much more of a priority to me. And that is okay if that's not a priority to anybody else. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the answer that you want to go buy your dream house or your dream car. That's great if that's what's important to you. But I've kind of honed in on that. And I think that knowing yourself, it kind of comes into play here because by keeping my expenses low, I've been able to create an optionality and experiences, an optionality to actually leave my W-2 job, to say I can go bet on myself now. About 18 months ago, I did that. And if I had not kept my expenses to a point that were low enough, I would have never felt the time was right to go do that. So it's delayed gratification in different ways, I think. But to your point, yes, I would love the Porsche, and that's on my radar. It's on my vision board. It's all those things. But I don't know when.
You sound like
it's funny.
Who hasn't driven an electric hover before. That's what it sounds like to me.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to spoil this for you. You're going to get to the point where you're going to go, "This is easy. I can go write a check for a Porsche," and you're not going to want it anymore.
I can't say how many conversations we've had with people that have said the exact same thing, because Ryan will share the story about his black Lamborghini that he wants. And, it's funny, man. I'm not saying that it would be the wisest decision to go buy that right now. It probably would make little to no sense. But if he wanted to, he could probably buy it now. Not in cash or anything like that, but he could go finance.
Once you know you can do it, now the allure is gone.
It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird feeling, man. It really, there's so much that comes with it too. Hey, what could I have put that other cash into? And what could have grown in it? Could it turn to, could I have 10x'd it? Not that you care about what other people are going to say, but there's just all the questions that come into it too. It's a hard thing. And am I driving around just purely for ego? Or did I just want to say I was able to do it?
Yeah.
Or do I just want it and it's my toy and I don't care? And I'm not at that point where it's like,
Yeah.
I just want to, now I'm in that like family, like take care of family mode, right? And so it's like I don't want to be selfish for me yet. That thing will be in my driveway at some point. Probably last a year and then I'll get rid of it. I just need to have it. So it'll come. Or maybe
You become a better steward of your wealth as you get older. You start to think about other people beside yourself, like you're thinking about your family. You start thinking about giving back to your community, growing your business. You start to have other things on your list that are important to you. And at some point, you know, for me, it's like I could go buy the Lamborghini right now, but I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to park it? I got to pay a guy to fix it. I got to have somebody clean it. I probably won't even drive it. It's like, this is just going to be a pain in my ass.
You need to dangle
more
a carrot. Like whatever it is. Like I think we all need that. Like, you know, Corey's got the Porsche, I got the Lambo up here. Like you guys all have whatever that thing you're searching for. If you don't have something to chase, what are you getting up for? Like, what are you doing this whole game for? And not that just for the Lamborghini. It's for the freedom. It's for the travel. It's for to be healthy, to live as long as you can, to do cool shit with cool people like you guys. Like just to be in the war room. Like that's part of the game. Like I just want to be able to do what I want when I want. And if that Lamborghini is going to take me away from doing that, I'm not doing that. It doesn't make any sense at all. I'd rather have way more time to do the fun stuff. So, you know, I guess
you heard Grant Cardone say, if you can't buy it twice with cash from passive income, you can't afford it when it comes to toys.
There'd
This
be
is
a lot
good
less.
rule.
There'd be a lot less owned Lamborghinis if people listen to that.
They'd be out of business.
Have you guys set goals for yourself where you're like, hey, when I hit this milestone, I'm going to buy this toy or go on this trip or do something to reward myself?
Yeah. So this is actually a funny one, man. I did exactly what you said I would do. You know, just to be candid, I mean, we don't share this too much, but like we recently crossed $1 million net worth. Like, you know, so it's not like we were millionaires for the past 5 years. Like we recently crossed that within the last year. And I said at that point I would go buy my BMW, or whatever the thing. And I didn't do it. And I still haven't done it. And that maybe part of that is a transition in my life from leaving W-2 to going full time in my business and like really trying to be like, I think I need to be smart with my money at this stage. But that was a goal of mine when I hit that. And I'm right around the number now and I haven't done it. And I don't think I am going to do it. So the goal post has shifted and I didn't set out for it to shift. So I think I'm not great about celebrating the victories and celebrating the wins. And I don't want to move the goalpost, but I have for myself. So I'm just being open about it. That's one of the things that I want to get better at. I think the good things are like going on trips when we close a deal or celebrating in experiences I've done a decent job of. I have a property in Tampa, Florida, and we're about to get destroyed with a snowstorm in Philadelphia. So I'm like, I have that as like my outlet. I get to go escape the storm or escape the cold. So the goals I think are more now business focused as opposed to like a monetary number. But that's just an example of something that I said I was going to do, and I actually didn't end up doing it.
I think as you get older, and we've already kind of touched on this, but you start thinking further down the line. And when you can attain something, maybe it's on a smaller scale, maybe it's not just the Lamborghini or the Porsche, whatever it is, or the BMW. It's like you already realize that you're not going to go buy that thing because now that you can, you lose interest in it. It's a weird thing for like, as I'm like older as a human being and older as a business owner, I think we find more value and experiences in our time freedom versus the tangible material thing that, you know, when you're in your early 20s that were super sexy because you're someone driving around and this must have a ton of money, but really I'm realizing they have a ton of stress and they're going to work to pay for those things. And most of those are just high debt vehicles or whatever they have. So it's really interesting thing. And it's funny. I'm seeing like the older gentlemen and the women that are actually super successful are the ones that are wearing the hoodie and jeans and they just keep to themselves and like they're just chilling because they can. They don't have to wear the suit and tie and go in and, you know, shake hands and kiss babies and put the mask on. So it's just
you talked about ego, Ryan. You were talking about like maybe I'm just buying it to show off, or I'm just, you know, to me, like once you're wealthy, you know, people driving cars like that want to show everybody that they're wealthy. Once you are wealthy, there's really no need to go show them. So unless you want that for yourself, it's no longer about putting on this show.
Totally. My dad, I told you he runs a construction business, and one day I never really knew like how well he did or whatever. I just knew that we didn't have to want for much, right? And he still is pretty private about everything. But we were like talking one day, and I was talking about the Lamborghini, and this was years ago. And he's like, I was like, Dad, why don't you get one? He goes, dude, I got one of those years ago. What am I just trying to show off at this point? And totally shit on it. I was like, dude, like it's the only thing I've ever wanted. Like I want my Batmobile. And he's just like, nah, man.
F-350, I'll be fine.
He's like, that thing doesn't have a truck bed. I can't even use it, man. What are you talking about? I'm like, all right, like, dude, whatever. So it was just one of those things. Who knows if he could or not, but it was the way he said it. I'm like, damn, he's thinking about this thing in a different way. His baby is his shop or his quarry, right? With all his machines and the excavators and to keep that going and to be able to go play in the dirt all day, that's all he wants to do. And he loves it. And so all this other stuff doesn't mean anything. It's just things. So very interesting. We've gotten perspective from people in our lives over time that maybe has grounded us a bit. And you got to get to the stage where we did he bought the Mercedes early. I bought the Challenger, the Dodge Challenger early. And we were like, this is sick. I love it. I'm excited to get in my car every day, but how often am I driving? Like, is it just something I can look at the window and get excited about? So I think the toys will come again, but I really just think to be able, I'm personally in this stage of life where I get to watch my daughter grow up and have flexibility on that. And to be able to just sit down and enjoy that and be in the moment. That's something I didn't even know anything about until I got into that stage of life. I'm like, wow, this is the best. I much.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost them.
Snowstorm
He'll
came
pop
early.
back in. Hey, Corey, I was going to ask you, Ryan was talking about his dad loving construction and getting in the dirt. Do you guys love real estate? Are you in the game to play the game? Do you love it?
I think we love relationships. We love people. We love putting deals together, and we love showing people that there's a new way to live a life. Do I love bricks and sticks and stuff and wood? No, not really. I mean, I think I like the fact that I can show somebody that if you put your dollars to work for you, there's another way to potentially make to live life on your own terms, so to speak. So I think real estate has been a byproduct of that's the life we've built and the way that we've designed it. But I don't know if I totally answered your question there, but I'm asking.
I want to know if you guys love the game. Do you get juiced by doing real estate deals?
Yeah,
Deal Junkies?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's to learn about the level of junkies that you guys are. You guys are like heroin level junkies, maybe, but we do really enjoy the game. So the way that we buy real estate now, though, is Ryan and I serve as marketing, investor relations, underwriting, and we help bring and put the deal together. And we have our other co-GP, our operator. He's the one who's managing the construction team, managing the property management, managing the deal flow. And we're showing people that there's an opportunity to get double-digit returns backed by real estate that are in our friends, family, and circle. So that part of the deal, yes, I think Ryan and I both love it. We love investor relations. We love connecting people. And we love finding that new deal that could go take somebody's money and 2x it, and then they're thrilled. So I think in that sense, yeah, we would consider ourselves deal junkies. We're not the guys that I'm calling the brokers and finding every single deal, although we've done that several times. I think we've maybe phased out of that in the way that we buy real estate right now. So it's a different type of deal putting together.
Can you just speak to that more? Tell us how you're doing deals today rather than going out and pounding the street.
Yeah. So our partner, his name is Sean, and we buy 5 to 30 unit value add multifamily in Vermont and New Hampshire. So the model and the reason that we've done that is because it's a little bit too big for the newbie investor to go retail, but it's a little bit underneath what a lot of institutional investors are buying. They're not really even looking at anything under 50 units. So through relationships, through our property manager and through our lending team, deals have been brought to us. Whether it's another owner in the property management group that's trying to offload, or whether it's a deal that some brokers are trying to find, that 5 to 30 unit where we're buying for $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million is that range. We're raising 25 to 30% equity, bringing in limited partners. And then Ryan and I and Sean, we're the co-GP team, and we manage it. We run it together. We meet with our property managers every single week. And our goal is to 2x investor money, but typically hold 5 to 7 years. So we try to refi as soon as we can, and then get investor money back, and then hold to that 5 to 7 year time frame. And we started this new way of buying in 2022, 2023. So we haven't even had an exit on any of those deals yet. But that's our strategy, and it's proven that there are deals out there in 2020. You guys know this. There are deals out there in 2025 and 2026. We put in 12 offers in 2025. We did 3 deals, a 7 unit, an 8 unit, and 10 unit. And we're putting in more offers now than we did in all of 2024. We didn't buy any deals in 2024. And for Deal Junkies, that's pretty shitty. But that's the story, and that's kind of what we're doing now.
What's your 10 unit look like? Can you speak to like what it rented for, what the business plan is, so we can understand like what a Vermont deal does?
Yeah. So this is an interesting deal because if I told you that we're buying a turnkey property in 2025, this was in March of 2025, you'd probably be like, why or how, right? But there was a guy who has most of his portfolio in Boston and he needed to liquidate. And he renovated this 10 units, a 6 unit on one side of the street, and it's a 4 unit on the other side of the street. And it's very close to Dartmouth Health. So what we've done is we've implemented the strategy. Our tenant pool is actually traveling nurses and professors. So they're on like 16-week stints where they come in and we're able to get a 50% premium on rents. So we bought this property for $2 million. Our mortgage payment on it is like $10,000 or $11,000 a month. And the 2 beds rent for $3,000 and the 1 beds rent for $2,300 or $2,400. So we're getting $24,000 just to give like basic math on a $10,000 or $11,000 mortgage. Obviously, all the other expenses that come out of that, but we're cash flowing between $3,000 to $5,000 a month on that. So my goal is like we buy value add multifamily, but this deal came up and it turns out that it'll take a little bit longer for us to get the equity out of it, but because it's in an A- area with bars and restaurants and the demand, the vacancy rate is 0.4% in this area. And it's called the Upper Valley. So there is just so much demand for housing and the places are renovated. We furnish them. And so that 10 unit is a strategy that has just come to fruition recently with like midterm rentals.
How is it managing that? Because now you got to deal with all the turnover. And did you find a property manager who will deal with that for you?
Our goal is to get our units with our partner to 500 units. We have, 95 total. We have 60 with him. So we have a long way to go. But when we get to that point, that's the point we can bring property management in-house. That's when we get to this point, we have enough rent coming in that we can do that. But we have an outsourced property management team who actually brought us the deal and has invested in the owner of it, has invested into deals with us. So I'm not suggesting that we get priority by any means, but we're kind of business partners. We're business partners in multiple ways. So they've been great and they've been willing to they live like 10 minutes away from the property. So they've been willing to put extra energy and effort into renting this on a midterm basis. And one of the things we actually found out is that our goal was to rent all 10 units on a midterm basis. But because of this vacancy rate that I mentioned, we're getting that same rent, $3,000 on a 2-bed in this area for 12-month leases. So only 5 or 6 of the units ended up going midterm, and then the rest of them are with our property management on a long-term basis. So that relationship has blossomed into, these guys aren't just going to park their properties with us and not be involved. We meet with them every week and we're looking to partner potentially on deals with them because a lot of people know that property management is just thankless. Like it is just, they're getting yelled at by owners, they're getting yelled at by tenants. It's horrible. So their business model has been to manage and then also start to buy. And we've brought them in as LPs, not GPs, but they've been LPs in our deals. So that's a little bit of a picture into the story there.
Guys, I know you have a hard stop here coming up. Before we get off, first, I want to thank you for being on the pod and having these guys on yours. Corey and Ryan, you're with WealthJuice. You're on the East Coast in Philadelphia, investing in Vermont, New Hampshire, you said. 5 to 30 unit is your buy box. Is there anything else you'd like to share with people that might want to invest with you or reach out to you or follow you on social media? Maybe tell us how to contact you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an agent in Philadelphia. So I help people buy their fixer-upper or buy their dream home, and I've been doing that for 6 months now as a byproduct of having coffee with so many people and teaching people how to buy their first rental property. I've got my license, and that has been a very cool part of our business. But we teach people how to buy their first or next rental property, and we talked about this on your show. If people want to learn how to do this, how to start, if you guys came to me and you're like, hey, I have 27 units, I really want to learn how to grow to 100, I'd tell you, we could help you, but you should go to somebody else. But if you want to get started and learn this game, we teach people literally handhold, give you the roadmap and give you all the tools. underwrite deals with you, give you the team and everything to do that. So listening to our podcast, the WealthJuice Podcast, following us on social media at WealthJuice Official, that's a little bit of into our ecosystem of what we do. And then we're also buying deals. So there's an opportunity to partner with us on that 5 to 30 unit deals. And we've built this platform. It's just fun for us. I love the content game. I love podcasting. I love chatting with people who are doing things better than us, like you guys. And that's where you could find us if you want to learn more.
Do you have a website people can check out your projects at?
Yeah, juice-enterprises.com is our website, and you can learn more about our program and then also the deals that we're buying.
Awesome. Corey and Ryan, thanks so much for joining us on Deal Junkies. We're going to wrap this one up. We good, guys?
Yep.
All right. We really appreciate you guys coming on today. We'll have to do a follow-up where we can talk a little longer. I got a lot of questions for you.
Happy
Sorry
to do
we
it, man.
lost you there, Ryan, but you made it back.
Made it back, dude. Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you guys, and we appreciate the time.
Yeah, great. All right, Deal Junkies, we love you guys. Please share us with somebody you love, and we'll see you next time.